During military training, my boyfriend rushed frantically to the infirmary with a fainted girl in his arms. They were childhood sweethearts, and no matter how many times we fought, he just wouldn't let go of her. But after I stepped back to let them be together, he ended up kneeling and begging me, saying he regretted it. During military training, Zhang Yuting, who was standing in the front row, suddenly fainted. Before I could even say a word, Li Yu, who was standing nearby, dashed out like an arrow and scooped her up. He didn't even have time to explain to the instructor, and frantically carried Zhang Yuting toward the infirmary. I stood there watching, my outstretched hand hanging in the air, only catching a trace of the warm breeze he left behind. A classmate beside me nudged me, frowning as she whispered, "Zhang Yuting fainted. But why is Li Yu so frantic? Isn't he your boyfriend?" I lowered my head. "Yeah, Li Yu is my boyfriend. But Zhang Yuting is his closest friend. We've argued about her countless times, yet he never seems willing to let her go." I could only defend him weakly. "They're just friends." The classmate glanced at me and said nothing more. In the afternoon, Li Yu walked Zhang Yuting back to her dorm. I asked him casually, "How's Zhang Yuting doing?" A faint smile appeared on Li Yu's face, different from his usual cool, distant smile. It could even be described as affectionate. "She's fine. She was just pretending because she didn't want to train. She's been like this since we were kids. So annoying." Though he said she was annoying, the smile in his eyes grew even brighter. "Oh right, I'm meeting up with some old friends tonight, so I won't be joining you for dinner." Old friends? So Zhang Yuting would be there too? My hands clenched, but I forced a smile. "Take me along. I know them too, it'll be a good chance to get closer." But Li Yu frowned. "No one's bringing their partners this time. Maybe next time." Then he glanced at his phone, a slight smile curling at the corner of his mouth. He waved at me and walked away. I stood there, watching his back disappear at the school gate, then pressed my lips together and returned to the dorm. Late at night, I got a call from one of Li Yu's friends. Drunk and slurring his words, he said Li Yu had had too much to drink and asked me to come pick him up. It was already past 1 in the morning. The dormitory gates were locked, so I quickly threw on some clothes, climbed over the back wall and hurried out. The streetlights along the path near the school were broken. With ongoing construction nearby, hardly anyone passed through there. In the pitch darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me, and I could faintly hear small, unsettling sounds. I was terrified, but I kept jogging until I made it out the back gate and hailed a taxi. Only after getting in the car did I realize my clothes were soaked with cold sweat. Without another thought, I gave the driver the address and headed toward the restaurant where Li Yu was having his gathering. The place was far, it took over half an hour to get there. After getting out, I searched for a while before finding the room Li Yu's friend mentioned, and pushed the door open anxiously. Then I saw Li Yu slumped over Zhang Yuting at the table, gripping her hand tightly. They were pressed close together. Li Yu's face was flushed, his eyes closed as he mumbled something. Everyone turned to look at me. Zhang Yuting looked awkward as she tried to push Li Yu away, tugging at her hand. But Li Yu held on tightly, refusing to let go. He muttered softly, "Don't go." Zhang Yuting tried several times to pull her hand back, her face turning red with effort. With her other hand, she patted Li Yu's back and whispered, "Wake up. Li Ran is here." The friends at the table looked uneasy, trying to smooth things over. "Li, you must have mistaken Yuting for you." I tried to force a smile to ease the tension, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't lift the corners of my mouth, because I knew Li Yu hadn't mistaken Zhang Yuting for me. It was Zhang Yuting's hand he wanted to hold. The whole scene ended with 2 of Li Yu's friends helping him into a car. After thanking them, I hailed a taxi to take Li Yu back to his place. He didn't like living in the dorms, so he'd bought an apartment near the school when the semester started. As the car pulled away, I caught a glimpse of someone still standing on the road behind us in the rearview mirror. I'd seen her too many times before. Even with the backlight hiding her face, I knew exactly who it was. Zhang Yuting. She stood there, watching us leave with a worried expression. I looked away, smiling bitterly to myself. This whole devoted couple act made me feel like some heartless villain standing in their way, like the Queen Mother of Heaven, keeping the cowherd and the weaver girl apart. Back at his place, Li Yu was barely conscious. He'd drunk way too much and had been mumbling incoherently the whole way. I helped him to the toilet to throw up, then made him some honey water to drink. After finishing the water, Li Yu pushed my hand away and stumbled to the bed. I sighed, took off his pants and shirt, and lay down beside him, exhausted. Then I heard him whisper, "Yuting, don't go." The words felt like a bucket of ice water dumped over me in the dead of winter, chilling me to the bone. I froze, stiff and numb, before finally turning to look at him. Li Yu was still asleep. His hand fumbled over, gripping mine tightly, then relaxed as if reassured, the furrow in his brow smoothing out. In that moment, a wave of intense disgust surged from deep within me. I couldn't help it, I yanked my hand away. Li Yu didn't react to being pushed off. He just rolled over, turning his back to me, and fell asleep. A while later, his breathing steadied, but I lay there in the dark, wide awake all night. Jiang Yuting. Even in his dreams, it was still Jiang Yuting. The next morning, Li Yu sobered up. As soon as he woke up, he clutched his stomach, his face pale. His stomach had always been sensitive, and after last night's drinking it was acting up again. I brought over the pumpkin and millet porridge I'd made earlier to soothe his stomach and scolded him. "Your stomach's weak, yet you still drink so much. Have some porridge first, and take some medicine later." Li Yu frowned. "The stomach medicine from last time is finished. Haven't had time to get more." I walked over to my bag, pulled out a bottle of medicine, and handed it to him with a sigh. "I knew you'd forget. One got a few more bottles last week." Li Yu paused, took the bottle, and looked up at me. He hesitated for a moment before asking casually, "I was drunk last night. I didn't say anything, did I?" I looked at him and told the truth. "You kept saying, 'Yuting, don't go.'" Li Yu stiffened, then pretended it was nothing as he took a sip of porridge. "I was really wasted last night. Everyone got carried away. Don't overthink it, I was just talking nonsense." I put down my chopsticks and lowered my eyes to my bowl. "I never said anything was going on between you two. You don't need to act so guilty." Li Yu frowned. "What's that supposed to mean? Why would I feel guilty? Yuting and I are just friends. Don't make it sound so dirty, okay?" No matter how much I tried to comfort myself, I couldn't suppress the hurt inside. I sneered. "Yeah, who holds a friend's hand and refuses to let go when they're drunk? Who calls out a friend's name in their sleep? You two are so pure, so noble, I guess I just don't get it." Li Yu fell silent, then slammed his spoon down in frustration, put on his jacket, and stormed out. As he slammed the door behind him, he shot me a disgusted look. "You're impossible to reason with." I paused for a moment but didn't turn around. I just quietly finished my porridge. We'd fought over Jiang Yuting so many times already, I was used to it by now. It was hard to explain the relationship between Jiang Yuting and Li Yu. Even though they always insisted they were just friends, most people looked at them with a hint of suspicion. I met Li Yu in high school. I liked him for 3 years and now it's been 4. That's almost a fifth of my life. But Li Yu and Jiang Yuting have known each other for over a decade. They grew up together as childhood sweethearts. Over the years, their respective partners came and went, but the two of them never parted ways. Li Yu even lowered his college application scores on purpose to attend the same university as Jiang Yuting. Sometimes I wondered, why weren't they together? Why did Li Yu choose me? Before we started dating, Li Yu never showed any particular interest in me. I was the one chasing after him with all my heart. Then one day, out of the blue, he accepted my confession, and we became a couple. I was overjoyed, thinking my years of secret admiration had finally paid off. I even followed him to a university in another province where I didn't know anyone. But looking back now, did he really like me when we got together? I tightened my grip on the spoon. The pumpkin porridge I'd sweetened with honey tasted like cardboard in my mouth. In the year we'd been together, Li Yu had spent more time with Jiang Yuting than with me. We'd fought countless times over his relationship with her. I'd cried, argued, and even lost control. But no matter how much it bothered me, Li Yu's response was always the same detached line. "There's nothing between us. If you can't accept it, we can break up." Those words alone were enough to shatter me every time. I'd loved Li Yu for 4 years. Loving him had almost become a habit. I couldn't imagine life without him, so I kept giving in, kept compromising. Every argument ended with me backing down. But now, I was really starting to feel tired. I thought we'd end up in another long Cold War like before. But to my surprise, Lee Yu came back that evening with a bouquet of flowers. As soon as he walked in, he handed me the flowers, wrapped his arms around me, and coaxed. Ran, I know I was wrong. Yuting and I really are just friends. She's been pampered since she was little, and her mom asked me to look out for her. If something were going to happen between us, it would have happened already. But yesterday was my fault. Can you forgive me just this once, I was a little shocked. Lee Yu had almost never tried to make up with me like this. Every time we fought, I was the one who gave in. Something felt off, but his unusually gentle attitude did ease my anger. I hesitated for a moment, then hugged him back. That evening, we had a rare moment of harmony. After dinner, we sat on the couch watching TV. Except he didn't hold me like he used to. Instead, he curled up on his own, absent-mindedly glancing between his phone and the TV. Lee Yu would glance at the TV half-heartedly, then look down at his phone, his lips curling into an unconscious smile as his fingers flew across the screen. I held back for a while but couldn't take it anymore. I asked him, "Who are you talking to?" Lee Yu quickly switched chat windows and looked up. "Just a classmate. There's a department meeting tomorrow." I knew I should stop here any further, and it would just end in another argument. We rarely had such a warm, peaceful atmosphere, even if it was fake. I shouldn't ruin it. But a thorn in my heart seemed to lodge itself in my throat, forcing the words out. "Is it Jiang Yuting?" Sure enough, as soon as I said it, Lee Yu's expression changed instantly. He looked annoyed. "We were just discussing student council stuff, official business." "Li Ran, can you please not be like this all the time?" I didn't say anything. What kind of official business makes someone smile like that? But I still wanted to try. Softening my voice, I said, "You can talk to me about things, you know." "Lee, you didn't even look up. What's the point in telling you? You wouldn't understand anyway." I stayed silent. In the end, I didn't say anything more. I quietly walked into the bedroom and got into bed. This time, Lee Yu didn't come to comfort me. Lying in bed, I opened WeChat and saw Jiang Yuting's latest post on Moments. A screenshot of a chat history. The profile picture in the screenshot was familiar. All too familiar. It was Lee Yu. He'd sent Jiang Yuting a red envelope with the note "First milk tea of autumn," followed by the message, "Your dad's treating you." Jiang Yuting replied, "Thanks, good boy." She captioned the photo, "No boyfriend, but I've got a good boy and still got my first milk tea of autumn." I couldn't describe what I felt in that moment. My knuckles ached from gripping my phone too tightly. Bitterness, disgust, hurt, and anger swirled together, too many emotions as if my heart might burst. But after a while I just felt hollow, utterly drained. Lee Yu never chatted with me casually. He said chatting was a waste of time. Pointless, that if we had something to say, we should say it face to face. Our WeChat history still stopped at the end of last month, when I reminded him to get his stomach medicine. He got the medicine, but he never replied. So he could chat after all. It was just that the person he wanted to share things with wasn't me. I don't know how much time passed before Lee Yu finally came to bed. He seemed to sense my mood and reached out to hold me, softening his tone. "Ranran, I know you're bothered by Yuting, but we've been friends since we were kids. If we were going to be together, we would have been together long ago. I just see her as one of the guys you really don't to need to worry about her." I didn't answer, only whispered, "I'm tired. Let's sleep." Lee Yu nodded, patted me a few times, then turned away. I stared at the dark window, where the reflection showed the light from a phone screen behind me. Lee Yu's body moved slightly. He was probably typing. The screen stayed on for a long time without turning off. I closed my eyes, curled up with my back to him. As soon as he woke up the next morning, Lee Yu started packing. My department organized a trip to Nanjing. "It'll be about a week. Be good and wait for me." Seeing his excited expression, I wanted to ask if Jiang Yuting was going too. But the words reached my lips and I swallowed them back. There was no need to ask. Of course she was going. Hesitantly, I spoke up. "Can partners come? I'd like to go too." Lee Yu looked up at me, frowning. "You're not in our department." It'd be awkward to bring you. I'll take you alone next time we're on break. Okay? Be good. His tone left no room for argument. I could only nod and watch silently as he hurriedly packed. My flight's soon, I've got to go. Lee Yu planted a perfunctory kiss on my forehead, then grabbed his luggage and left. For the next few days, Lee Yu didn't call me. Whenever I called him, he'd brush me off after just a couple of words and hang up. I kept it brief. Don't forget your medicine. I put it in the left side of your bag. Don't drink and don't eat anything spicy. Before I could finish, Lee Yu cut in impatiently. I know. Stop nagging. Then he hung up. A week passed in anxious waiting. Maybe because of the stress, my appetite had been poor all week. Then, on Saturday night, for some reason, my stomach started cramping up. It felt like my intestines were twisted into knots. The pain radiated from my stomach through my entire abdomen, sharp, stabbing cramps that made it hard to pinpoint where it hurt exactly. I forced myself to get dressed to go to the hospital, but the pain was so intense I could barely walk. Scared, I shakily dialed Lee Yu's number. The phone rang for a long time before he answered. With a trembling voice, I said, Lee Yu, my stomach hurts so bad. When are you coming back? The week was over. His department trip should have ended by now. With just a 2-hour flight, he could be back soon. I didn't have any family or close friends in this city. Lee Yu was the only person I could rely on. But Lee Yu lowered his voice and said soothingly, Ranran, hang in there. I've still got things to deal with here. I can't come back right now. Okay? Be good. Call me if anything else comes up. Then he hung up. I was shivering from the pain by then, too hurt to even feel angry. Struggling downstairs, I hailed a taxi and asked the driver to take me to the emergency room. I hadn't eaten much all day, and the stomach pain didn't help. As soon as I entered the A, everything went dark and I bumped into a doctor in a white coat. All I remember is the scent of disinfectant filling my nose before I blacked out. When I woke up that night, I was already in a hospital bed. A nurse nearby noticed I was awake and took my temperature. Your fever's gone down. You had acute gastroenteritis last night. Have you been eating irregularly lately? Or having too much cold or spicy food? You'll need someone to help with the discharge paperwork later, and to pay the medical fees. She skillfully replaced my 4-drip. We gave you some glucose first. Are you allergic to any medications? After thanking the nurse, I reached for my phone to call Lee Yu. Timing-wise, he should have been back by now. But the call wouldn't go through after several tries. Left with no choice, I sent him a WeChat message, asking him to call me back when he saw it. After sending the message, out of habit, I opened Moments and scrolled through. That's when I saw Jiang Yuting's latest post-artistic photos of her, in a white shirt and a veil. In the photos, she beamed radiantly, sweetly clinging to the arm of the person beside her. I'd seen that person countless days and nights, but seeing his smile still felt strangely unfamiliar, almost surreal. It was Lee Yu. They'd taken a set of photos together, wedding-style artistic portraits. And the man who told me he had no energy for marriage was looking at the woman beside him with unmistakable affection in his eyes. Jiang Yuting captioned the post. No boyfriend? My buddy's got my back. So this was what Lee Yu meant by things to deal with. Accompanying Jiang Yuting to take artistic photos. Wedding-style artistic photos. My vision blurred. Fighting to stay conscious, I called Lee Yu. The call rang for a long time before he picked up. His voice hushed. Hey, what's up? My voice trembled as I asked. Lee Yu, what's with the photos Jiang Yuting posted? Lee Yu paused, then replied casually. Oh, you saw those? We were just walking by a studio, and they insisted we try their free promotion. She's just being childish. She saw something new, and wanted to drag me into it. Don't overthink it. It's just a photo. I struggled to hold back my tears, forcing out the words. Just a photo? My boyfriend posing for wedding-style photos with someone else. While I was sick, passed out, and alone, my boyfriend was accompanying another woman for a set of wedding-style artistic portraits. Lee Yu sounded impatient and fell back into his usual script. Lee Ran, why do you have to drag this out? I already told you there's nothing between us. If you really can't handle it, we should just break up. I'd heard those words too many times. After every argument about Jiang Yuting, Lee Yu would threaten me with them. And every time I'd cave, apologize, and promise I wouldn't be like that again. But this time, I suddenly felt utterly hopeless. If loving someone meant this much long-term pain and torment, I'd rather cut my losses now. I closed my eyes. Fine. Lee Yu replied automatically. Let's just forget it this time. Next time don't wait. What did you say? His voice suddenly rose, tinged with disbelief. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and whispered. I said, okay then. Let's break up. Lee Yu fell silent for a moment, then said impatiently. Lee Ran, stop being dramatic, okay? Is this really worth all the fuss over such a small thing? I didn't respond. I just hung up and blocked his number. I wondered if it hadn't been gastroenteritis last night. If I'd been in a car accident somewhere remote, would he have rushed back? Probably not. In his eyes, my well-being could never compare to Zhang Yuting's happiness. He could never say no to her, just as he could never say I love you to me. I lay in the hospital bed, sitting through the night until dawn broke in the east. When the first light of morning streamed in, I closed my bloodshot eyes. They were dry, no tears left. It had happened too many times. Pain upon pain, until my heart felt hollow and numb. Lee Yu didn't come back. He didn't even call to explain. He just ignored me with his usual cold arrogance, same as always. I used to believe that love was blameless. Later, many of my friends couldn't stand it anymore, saying I was acting like a doormat without any dignity. Back then I thought, what's wrong with loving someone wholeheartedly? What was wrong with loving passionately? But now I understand too much love makes you too humble. Things that come too easily are rarely cherished. Lee Yu always told me he and Zhang Yuting were just friends. If they were going to be together, they would have been together long ago, and I wouldn't have even been in the picture. He said they were too familiar, that he could never see her that way. He said so many things. But looking back now, it all sounds laughably empty. Suddenly, I really wanted to ask him. If their bond was so unbreakable, why did he drag me into it? Was I just a prop to highlight how solid their relationship was? I wiped my dry eyes, pushed myself up to go pay my bill. But after a day and night without food or water, my vision swam with spots as soon as I stood. And I nearly collapsed. A slender hand reached out from the side to steady my waist, and a voice with a youthful yet slightly low timbre said, Hey, you okay? I looked up. As the dizziness faded, a face appeared before me that nearly made my heart stop. Under a white bandage covering his left eye was a face so finely sculpted it looked unreal. Beneath a straight nose, pale pink lips contrasted with strikingly deep glass-like eyes. Lee Yu was handsome too, but his beauty was cold and aloof, like a distant flower. The person before me, however, exuded an untamed energy that the bandage couldn't hide. His dark eyebrows arched slightly, and every line of his face spoke of youthful defiance. Stunned by his looks, my lips moved wordlessly for a moment before I stammered, Thank you. What a coincidence I knew him. This was Qi Shen from my class, who'd beaten Li Yu to become the widely acknowledged campus heartthrob. Never expected to run into him in a hospital, and in the same room no less. Seemed like he'd hurt his eye, but even as a one-eyed bandaged patient, he still carried a unique kind of beauty. I thanked him repeatedly, grateful for his help. He lowered his long lashes and replied off-topic. Stomach problems? He helped me sit back on the bed. Feeling awkward, I answered. Yeah. Acute gastroenteritis. What happened to your eye? I asked, just to make conversation. Nothing serious. Just a minor injury. I paid your medical bill earlier. Rest up, no rush. Surprised and grateful, I thanked him again and again. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Qi Shen nodded slightly, and didn't say more. We sat awkwardly together in the same room. I didn't know much about him and wasn't sure what to say. So we just sat in stiff silence until a nurse called him out to change his bandages. Only then did I relax and lie back down. By afternoon, my 4-drip was almost finished. I went to find Qi Shen to transfer the money back to him. He didn't refuse, only said Alipay was inconvenient lately, and asked me to send it via WeChat. His WeChat profile picture was a corgi, pretty cute actually. I stole a glance at Qi Shen, who was looking down at his phone. His expression was cool, his eyes slightly upturned, and his dark, thick hair at the temples gave him an unapproachable air. Who would have thought someone who looked so tough would use a puppy as his profile picture? Truly, you can't judge a book by its cover. When I went home to pack my things, Li Yu was already sitting there. I pretended not to see him and stuffed all my belongings into the suitcase. I didn't actually own much. He had just bought this apartment recently, and I had only stayed over occasionally when he had stomachaches and I came to take care of him. The suitcase was light and almost empty. Li Yu sat expressionlessly on the sofa, watching me pack. He didn't ask how I was doing or whether my stomach still hurt. Just as I was about to leave, he spoke with his usual coldness. Li Ram, have you really thought this through? I don't respond to tears or tantrums. If you walk out that door today, don't ever come back. I didn't reply, just looked at him wearily. Li Yu's expression was icy. His lips pressed into a tight line, as if he were a boss reprimanding an unruly subordinate. Suddenly, I felt exhausted, completely drained, as though all my strength had been sucked away by his gaze. I didn't argue or make a scene like I used to, debating with him about the inappropriateness of Zhang Yuting's presence in our relationship. Instead, I calmly averted my eyes, closed the door, and left. In that moment, I suddenly understood that saying. The time you really leave, you close the door the quietest. True to his word, Li Yu didn't try to stop me. I moved back into the dormitory. To my surprise, I didn't feel as heartbroken as I'd imagined when I went to bed that night. I thought I'd be devastated, shattered, unable to go on. But I wasn't. I even had the mood to eat a bowl of Lucifen. Because Li Yu hated the smell. I hadn't eaten it once during our year together. Tasting it again, I even teared up a little, thinking, damn, Lucifen is so much better than any man. That night, I slept surprisingly well. I no longer had to worry about whether Li Yu was chatting with Zhang Yuting again, whether his stomach hurt, or whether he was dissatisfied with me about something. Without Li Yu sleeping beside me, I slept soundly until dawn. Maybe I had just been too stubborn in the past. My consciousness, worn down by long-term pain, had long since exhausted any love for him. It was just my body lingering in that inertia, accustomed to loving him. The next day, while I was in class, a classmate named Shen Yin tapped on my desk and placed an iced milk tea in front of me. Have some tea. Why do you look so serious? I looked up and thanked her with a smile. When Shen Yin first moved into the dorm, she was too scared to go to the bathroom alone at night. While others refused to accompany her, I went with her every time, so she felt close to me. It's nothing. I was just thinking about yesterday's homework. Shen Yin sat down beside me and nudged me gently. There's a class party tonight to say goodbye to the instructor. The monitor said everyone should try to come. Want to go together later? I paused, the milk tea in my hand. Everyone meaning Li Yu and Zhang Yuting would be there too. To be honest, I really didn't want to see them right now. I felt like a clown in their love story, not only heartbroken, but also humiliated. I'd lost everything, both face and pride. But the instructor had indeed been good to us. After hesitating, I nodded. Okay. Before entering the private room, I felt a bit nervous. I didn't know how to face Li Yu. Should I pretend not to see him, show him I was doing just fine without him, or act like any other classmate? But then I realized I hadn't done anything wrong. The ones at fault were that awful couple who hurt others with their messy drama. Why the hell was I nervous? I wiped my face, composed myself, and pushed the door open. The room was large, with about 20 classmates inside. As soon as I entered, I felt a gaze fixed intently on me, locking onto me with an undeniable intensity. It was Li Yu. He was staring coldly and directly at me, his knuckles white where he gripped his phone. Zhang Yuting, sitting beside him, noticed his expression, and her smile instantly froze. I found a seat and avoided Li Yu's gaze. I didn't understand why he was looking at me like that, as if I had cheated on him. The one who had let go had always been him. Li Yu's expression darkened. He stared at me unabashedly, and when I didn't react, he suddenly stood up and stormed out, slamming the door. Zhang Yuting shot me a glance before hurriedly following him out. Shen Yin looked puzzled. Why aren't you sitting with your boyfriend? Aren't you upset he's sitting with Zhang Yuting? I shook my head. We've already broken up. Shen Yin fell silent for a moment, then glanced at me hesitantly. Maybe it's for the best. Actually, I've been wanting to tell you, I've seen them holding hands on campus many times, and sometimes Jung Yuting even links arms with him. That guy is no good. Better things are ahead for you. I smiled at her. Li Yu and Jiang Yuting didn't return. Halfway through the meal, I needed to use the restroom. Thinking they might have left, I stepped out, only to run right into them. As I walked down a corridor, I heard Jiang Yuting's tearful voice. You only agreed to be with Li Ran back then, because you were angry that I never understood your feelings. Admit it. I peeked around the corner and saw Li Yu looking irritated. He ran a hand through his hair, frowning. Yes, I admit I was frustrated because you kept avoiding my feelings, so I agreed to be with Li Ran. My heart clenched. So that was it. No wonder Li Yu had ignored my previous confessions, only agreeing to be with me after he'd had a fight with Jung Yuting. After that, he often brought me around when Jung Yuting was present. Once they reconciled, Li Yu grew distant from me and even brought up breaking up several times. It was only because I begged him without any self-respect each time that we stayed together. So, what I had thought was my secret crush coming true was nothing but a game between them. Li's revenge on Jiang Yuting for avoiding him. Leaning against the wall, I felt chilled all over. My heart wasn't exactly in pain, but it felt heavy and suffocating. The relationship I had treasured was, to someone else, just trash to be discarded at will. Jiang Yuting cut Li Yu off, throwing herself into his arms and hugging him tightly, sobbing. It's not that I didn't like you. It's just that too many people were around you, and my pride wouldn't let me lower myself for you. Now that you've broken up, we've already missed so many years. Do we have to keep missing each other? Li Yu stumbled back slightly from her impact, his hands hovering awkwardly in the air without returning the embrace. His expression conflicted for a moment before he muttered vaguely, Yuting, I bit my lip, not wanting to hear any more, and quietly slipped away down another corridor. Even though we had broken up, I didn't want to watch their star-crossed reunion. Childhood sweethearts, separated for years by pride and ego, finally realizing their feelings and coming together. Such a touching story. If I weren't the collateral damage in this romance, I might have applauded it too. Suddenly feeling overwhelmed, I wanted to leave quietly. But just as I stepped outside, someone called out from behind. Hey, Li Ran. I turned around. Under the street lamp by the bus stop, Qi Shen stood with a cigarette between his lips, hands in his pockets, chin slightly raised as he looked at me. The warm light was blocked by his tall, straight nose, casting sharp shadows across his cheeks. Caught trying to sneak away, I felt awkward and waved at him. Aren't you going back in? Qi Shen took the cigarette butt, crushed it under his foot, tossed it into a trash can, and walked over to stand before me. Too noisy. Annoying. I nodded. He was so tall that his shadow completely enveloped me when he stood close. A faint scent of tobacco mixed with minty shower gel lingered in the air. We stood there facing each other, neither speaking. After a moment, I broke the awkward silence and looked up. I have something to do. I should get going. Thanks for last time. I thought Qi Shen would exchange pleasantries, and we'd go our separate ways, but he simply nodded. Let's go together? I was taken aback, unsure how to refuse, and forced a smile. Sure. The restaurant wasn't far from campus, so we had all walked over. Qi Shen and I walked side by side on the sidewalk. He glanced at me and asked, Is the Literature Society hard to get into? I submitted an application a few days ago. I was surprised. Qi Shen looked like a troublemaker, yet he secretly wanted to join the Literature Society. I nodded. It's easy. We're short on people. I'll remind the president to review it soon. Qi Shen kept his hands in his pockets, replying casually, Thanks. On the autumn evening, fallen leaves covered both sides of the road. The dim streetlights formed hazy halos, and remnants of insect chirps lingered in the night air. We made small talk as we walked until Qi Shen suddenly said, You and your boyfriend broke up. I was startled, wondering how he could tell. Yeah, just yesterday. Qi Shen didn't pry further, just looked down at me deeply. Good. He wasn't good enough for you. His tone was so matter-of-fact that, though I should have been upset by the reminder, his attitude left me both amused and touched. Thanks, double quotes, the night breeze carried a chill. The further we walked, the colder I felt, and I couldn't help hugging my arms. I should have brought a jacket. No sooner had the thought crossed my mind than I felt warmth envelop me. A jacket carrying a crisp mint scent was draped over my shoulders. Surprised, I turned to see Qi Shen now only wearing a black t-shirt. As a basketball team member who exercised often, his exposed forearms revealed toned, honey-colored muscles. Qi Shen walked me all the way back. Feeling a bit guilty, I tried to tell him he could head back first. But he kept walking. "There's construction near your dorm lately. It's not safe. I'll see you back." His tone brooked no argument, so I followed him back to the dormitory. Only after saying goodbye and returning to my room did I realize I'd forgotten to return his jacket. Holding it, I felt conflicted. I'll wash it and return it to him next time. After the breakup, Liu started appearing in front of me more often. I frequently saw him and Jiang Yuting together in various classes, the cafeteria, even on the way back to the dorm. He had always been impatient about spending time with me before, but now it seemed like he was deliberately flaunting their relationship in front of me. I tried to ignore it each time, but it was hard to avoid. That evening, the club had a small gathering at a music bar. As soon as I entered the booth, I saw Li Yu and Jiang Yuting again. The frequency was getting ridiculous. Even though I was trying to move on, seeing them constantly still bothered me. I was about to leave when a hand grabbed me. I turned to see Qi Shen holding a glass of beer, a playful glint in his eyes. "Sit." Since he had helped me several times, I couldn't refuse and sat down beside him. Li Yu's frown was deep enough to trap flies. Ignoring Jiang Yuting beside him, he stared fixedly at me. Uncomfortable under his gaze, I turned to chat with Qi Shen. "Thanks for the jacket last time. I didn't know you'd be here today. I'll wash it and return it tomorrow." Qi Shen replied casually, "No rush." The gathering was supposed to be a welcome event for new members, but it was really just an excuse for the newly enrolled students to blow off steam. Many club members showed up, and everyone was drinking and playing games, creating a lively atmosphere. After a few rounds, most people were tipsy and clamoring to play Truth or Dare. I wasn't fond of such games and tried to decline, but Shen Yin pulled me back. She was already drunk. Her face flushed as she tugged at me. "Come on, Li Ran. Are you scared?" Helpless, I let her push me into a chair as we started spinning the bottle. About 10 of us sat in a circle around the dimly lit table, surrounded by loud music. Gradually, fueled by alcohol, I got into the spirit and asked plenty of questions. It wasn't until the bottle slowly pointed at Li Yu that my buzz began to fade. The classmates around us laughed and cheered, excitedly asking Li Yu, "Li Yu, is there someone you like at this table?" I smirked inwardly. What kind of question was that? Anyone with eyes could see Li Yu liked Jiang Yuting. Li Yu glanced at me, his expression complicated. After a moment, he looked directly at me and said, yes. Meeting his gaze, I felt an urge to pour my entire drink over his head. This man had trampled on my feelings and now had the nerve to flaunt it in front of me. The classmates erupted. Everyone knew we had broken up, and that he and Jiang Yuting had been close lately. Sensing gossip, fueled by alcohol, they started cheering loudly. "Who is it? Is it Jiang Yuting? Li Yu? Who do you like?" Li Yu didn't answer. He drained his glass and deflected. "That's a second question." Or, Jiang Yuting glanced at Li Yu, a slight smile touching her lips. The classmates were disappointed, but had to settle down and continue spinning the bottle. After a few more rounds, the bottle pointed at Qi Shen. Normally, Qi Shen's intimidating appearance made people hesitant to challenge him. But tonight, with everyone drinking freely, caution was thrown to the wind. A female classmate who seemed interested in him blushed and asked, "Qi Shen, is there someone you like?" Almost involuntarily, I turned to look at Qi Shen. Under the swirling lights, his light brown eyes seemed to shimmer. He narrowed his eyes slightly, a faint, almost imperceptible smile appearing. "Yes, there is." The female classmate's face instantly paled. She forced a smile and fell silent. I hadn't expected Qi Shen to have someone he liked. I was curious what kind of person someone like him would be drawn to. But it was none of my business. Shaking off the thought, I joined a few more rounds. Half an hour later, I was starting to tire and decided to leave after one last round. Unexpectedly, the bottle, which had never pointed at me before, spun several times and slowly came to a stop in my direction. I tensed, but the classmates around me were already buzzing with excitement. I could guess what they'd ask. Not wanting to embarrass myself in front of Li Yu and Jiang Yuting, I waved my hand with a smile. I choose dare. A particularly bold female classmate immediately stood up, excitedly declaring, "Then kiss a male classmate here." A French kiss. As soon as she finished, everyone went wild, whooping and clapping. Choose. Choose. I regretted my choice. I hadn't expected them to go this far. Among those present, the only guys I knew well were Li Yu and Qi Shen. Li Yu. We'd kissed plenty before, but I'd rather kiss a dog than kiss him now. As for Qi Shen, that would be even more awkward. Li Yu's gaze grew increasingly intense. He tapped his glass on the table as if waiting for my answer. Feeling trapped, I laughed awkwardly. "No way, pick something else. Are you backing out?" The bold girl frowned, leaning in tipsily. "Li Ran, you lose, you pay. Don't be a spoilsport. How boring." Just as I was about to protest again, Qi Shen suddenly pulled me toward him. The blue-tinted light illuminated his face, enhancing his already striking features until he looked almost enchantingly beautiful, like a seductive spirit from the wilderness. His eyes tinged with red at the corners. He pointed a finger at his own lips, leaned close, and whispered in my ear, "You're not thinking of kissing Li Yu, are you? Ex-boyfriends aren't worth it." His words, laced with a hint of drunkenness, sent an inexplicable flutter through my heart. I turned to look at him steadily. Qi Shen pulled me closer, one hand cupping the back of my neck as he leaned in. Our lips were barely a millimeter apart. I panicked, about to close my eyes, when he paused and murmured with a soft laugh, "I'm going to kiss you now." And he kissed me deeply. My mind exploded into static. Every brain cell seemed to vanish at once, leaving only a confused mush. I didn't know what to do, but Qi Shen gradually deepened the kiss. He was skilled, and under the influence of alcohol, it felt like a siren from the deep sea pulling a drowning traveler down until they were lost. The screams around us were deafening. Everyone was clapping and cheering, but I was oblivious, sinking deeper into the kiss, until Qi Shen was suddenly punched hard in the face. He grunted, his head snapping to the side. I opened my eyes in shock to see Li Yu standing there, face livid, fists clenched. Before I could speak, he grabbed my arm and dragged me out, leaving behind the stunned classmates and Jiang Yuting's dark expression. Li Yu's grip was firm, pulling me stumbling after him onto the street. I yanked my arm free, furious. "Are you insane?" Li Yu's voice was even louder. He glared at me, eyes red, anger simmering. "What the hell were you doing back there?" I found it absurd and waved a hand in front of his face. "We've broken up." "What I do is none of your business," Li Yu faltered. After a moment, he said irritably, "Enough, Li Ran. How long are you going to keep this up? It was wrong of me to take those kinds of photos with Yuting. I'm sorry. Okay?" His voice grew softer until he was practically mumbling, his face red as he refused to look at me. I almost laughed in disbelief. Li Yu actually thought I was just throwing a tantrum, that if he lowered his head just once, I'd come running back. My expression turned cold, laced with sarcasm. "What about Jiang Yuting? Aren't you two together now?" "What?" Li Yu looked up, surprised. "No, Yuting and I aren't together," I said icily. "I heard everything. You were with me because you were angry with Jiang Yuting. You've always liked her, haven't you?" "I really don't get it," I continued scornfully. "What kind of soap opera are you two acting in?" Li Yu's face paled, then flushed. He was silent for a while, his throat working before he gritted out, "Yes, I liked Yuting before. But... are you?" A female voice cut him off. Jiang Yuting, cheeks slightly flushed, hurried over and linked her arm through Li Yu's, leaning against his shoulder. She offered me an apologetic smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sorry. Ayu talks nonsense when he's drunk. He's been like that since we were kids. Don't take it to heart." Her smile seemed tinged with provocation. I had no patience left for their teenage drama and turned to leave. Around the corner, Qi Shen emerged from the shadows. A bruise was forming at the corner of his mouth, but his eyes held a trace of amusement. "Hey," he said, looking down at me. "How was my technique?" The next morning, when I sat up in bed, I finally realized how absurd yesterday had been. I felt all the blood rush to my head and was about to scream silently when my phone rang. I answered, and Jiang Yuting's anxious voice came through. "Li Ran, Li Yu's stomach is acting up again." Hearing about his stomach problem, my heart instinctively tightened out of habit before I remembered we had already broken up. My grip on the blanket loosened, and I replied coldly, "What does that have to do with me?" Jiang Yuting paused, her voice trembling. "Do you still have his usual stomach medicine?" I fell silent. I did. Back when Li Yu had stomach issues, the medicine he needed wasn't available at ordinary pharmacies. It could only be prescribed at specific hospitals. He would always forget to refill it, so his stomach would often hurt. When we were together, I used to get extra for him, just in case. Probably after I left, no one took care of him like that anymore. I asked, puzzled, "You've been with him for so many years. Don't you have his medicine?" Jiang Yuting went quiet for a moment, then said awkwardly, "Do you have it or not?" I didn't want to get involved, but I couldn't bring myself to be heartless. Closing my eyes, I said, "Yes, come get it." Jiang Yuting pleaded urgently, "I can't leave him right now. Can you bring it over?" From the other end of the line, I could hear Li Yu's painful groans. His stomach issues were severe, the kind of pain even a grown man would struggle to endure. I didn't want to be entangled with him again. But even if it were just an ordinary classmate, I couldn't bring myself to ignore it. Cursing under my breath, I got up to bring him the medicine. Sitting in the car, I silently cursed Li Yu for being such an idiot. Even after breaking up, he still managed to make me run errands for him. I must have owed him from a past life. When I arrived at Li Yu's place, I instinctively entered using the passcode before it hit me. I froze for a moment. I never expected that. Even after our breakup, he still hadn't changed the passcode. My feelings were a jumbled mess as I pushed the door open and walked straight into the bedroom. Jiang Yuting wasn't home. Li Yu was alone in the bedroom, curled up on the bed. His face was pale, twisted in pain, and the sheets beneath him were soaked with cold sweat. I sighed, poured a glass of hot water and handed him the medicine. "Get up and take this." Li Yu slowly opened his eyes, looking dazed at first. But when he saw me, his eyes suddenly reddened. "Ranran." Instead of taking the medicine, he grabbed my hand, his voice trembling. "You came back?" I pursed my lips, reminding him, "We've already broken up. I'm just here to drop off medicine. Don't call me again in the future." As I spoke, I poured all the medicine from my bag onto the nightstand beside the bed. Li Yu's hand stiffened. Then he struggled to lean forward and buried his face in my hand. Maybe people become more vulnerable when they're sick. His voice even carried a hint of grievance. "I know I was wrong. I'll apologize to you, okay? I'll keep my distance from Jiang Yuting. Ranran, please forgive me." I was instantly stunned, my first reaction being to reach out and feel Li Yu's forehead. Was he delirious from a fever? In the past, whenever Jiang Yuting was brought up, he'd act like a stubborn jerk, take it or leave it. And if I couldn't accept it, I could just leave. He always told me he wouldn't give up Jiang Yuting for me. How could an illness change him so much? I frowned. "Are you delirious? Haven't you two liked each other for a long time? Now that the only obstacle between you is gone, why are you still putting on an act? Did you two have another fight?" Li Yu raised his head weakly, his face completely devoid of color from the pain. He let out a self-mocking laugh. "Yeah, I was too foolish. I was always one step behind." He glanced at me before quickly looking down, as if mustering up all his courage. "Li Ran, I did like Jiang Yuting once. Back then, I really did get together with you because I was angry with her. But after we broke up, I realized I've liked you for a long time." Yuting. His gaze grew distant. Maybe she was just an unresolved feeling from my youth, so I kept holding on, unable to let go. But when I actually got together with her, something didn't feel right. I kept thinking of you, feeling like it should be you. Looking at Li Yu's cautious expression, I didn't know how to react. In the past, hearing those words would have made me ecstatic. Back then, I desperately wished I could replace Zhang Yuting. After arguments with Li Yu, I'd fantasized that one day he'd fall in love with me, kneeling before me in tears, begging for forgiveness. But now that he was actually saying it, I felt no joy, only an empty, aching sadness in my heart. Perhaps the love I once had for him had died long ago, worn down over time, and could never be reawakened. Under Li Yu's hurt gaze, I slowly pulled my hand away and said softly, "Li Yu, do you love me? Or do you love the feeling of wanting what you can't have? Is it only when something is out of reach that it seems best to you?" "No." Li Yu reached out urgently to grab my hand again. "Ran, I really do like you. Give me another chance, okay?" Thud. We both turned at the same time. Zhang Yuting was standing at the door, the things in her hands scattered on the floor. She stared blankly at Li Yu, unsure how much she had overheard, not wanting to get tangled up in this messy situation any longer. I forcefully pulled my hand away, brushed past Zhang Yuting and walked out, closing the door behind me. I didn't know how Li Yu and Zhang Yuting resolved things in the end, but instead of distancing herself from him, Zhang Yuting started following him around even more. As for Li Yu, his attitude toward Zhang Yuting completely changed. Once doting, now he was often impatient with her. It was as if our roles had reversed. On my birthday, Li Yu asked me out to dinner. He called me. "I'm waiting for you downstairs." I ignored him and went back to my dorm to sleep. Late autumn rain always comes unexpectedly. It wasn't until a flash of lightning streaked across the window that I realized it was pouring outside. My heart tightened, but I reassured myself no way. There was no chance Li Yu would wait for me that long. It had always been me waiting for him, never him waiting for me. Still, I felt uneasy. Barefoot, I walked to the balcony to take a look. The night wind seeped through the window crack, making me shiver. Outside, heavy rain pelted down noisily. Under the dim streetlights, tree shadows swayed, and fallen leaves covered the ground. But there, a dark figure stood silently, unmoving, without an umbrella. Silent in the vast, desolate night. That silhouette was all too familiar. It was Li Yu. My heart trembled violently, overwhelmed with indescribable emotions. Gritting my teeth, I grabbed an umbrella and rushed downstairs. Sure enough, in the pouring rain, Li Yu stood by the roadside, as still as a statue, as if he had been standing there for ages. I ran over with the umbrella, standing before him and shouting angrily, "Are you out of your mind? Your stomach just got better, and now you're doing this again." Li Yu lowered his head. Half of his face was hidden in shadow, rain streaming down his chin as if he were crying. Yet he smiled, looking genuinely happy. "Ran, you still care about me, don't you?" I couldn't take it anymore and slapped him hard across the face. "Stop acting like this, okay?" Li Yu was stunned by the slap, but then he turned his other cheek toward me and said softly, "Hit me again, Ran. If it makes you feel better, hit me again." His crazed expression startled me, and I couldn't bring myself to hit him again. Instead, I grabbed his collar and said through gritted teeth, "Li Yu, what do you want from me? We're over-finished." Li Yu blinked, raindrops falling from his long wet lashes like butterflies with soaked wings, struggling to survive. He looked at me earnestly, his voice pained. "Ran, is this how you felt when you waited for me before?" I froze. Memories I thought were long dead suddenly rushing back. The feeling of waiting for Li Yu, I knew it all too well. Because when we were together, I seemed to be waiting all the time. Sometimes I wondered if I were like a lost Digimon in the digital world, waiting day after day, year after year, for my destined partner to find me. I waited for him to be with me, waited for him to remember me, waited for him to love me. But perhaps the wait had been too long, so long that I was exhausted, too tired to wait any longer. Suddenly, Li Yu embraced me in the rain. In the dim, pouring rain, surrounded by the endless sound of falling water, the yellow streetlights illuminated rippling circles on the wet ground. Li Yu held me tightly, as if afraid I would run away, his voice trembling. "I always realize my feelings too late, Ran. From now on, let me be the one waiting, okay?" For the first time, he sounded so humble in front of me. It was as if our positions had swapped. Li Yu's choked sobs faded in and out in the rain. "From now on, I'll wait for you. I'll chase after you. I'll love you. Ranran, please, don't abandon me. His tone was so pitiful, like a stray dog abandoned in the heavy rain, begging its owner not to leave it behind. I should have softened, but for some reason, all those past tears and pain surged back into my heart. The heartache I had nowhere to express, the tears I could only shed in private, the endless nights of waiting. Suddenly, I remembered I had experienced such a heavy downpour before. That night, Li Yu's stomach had acted up, and we were out of medicine at home. I braved the pouring rain to get him a prescription from the emergency room. When I returned, I found him video calling Zhang Yuting. He told me her dorm had lost power. She was afraid of the dark, and he needed to comfort her until she fell asleep. At that moment, I wanted to ask, what about me? I had walked through dark alleys alone, in the rain, taken a cab across half the city to get his medicine. Wasn't I afraid of the dark, too? Later, I realized Li Yu wasn't unaware of what I had done for him. It was just that the one he favored had never been me. In Li Yu's trembling embrace, I slowly but firmly pushed him away. Li Yu's eyes reddened as he pleaded tearfully. Ranran, you can't be this cruel to me. I shook my head, handed him the umbrella, and said softly, Li Yu, love is a precious thing, and precious things are often non-renewable. With that, I walked into the rain without looking back. Behind me, Li Yu collapsed to his knees in despair, as if struck by a bullet that had been delayed for far too long. A month after our breakup, he finally felt the pain belatedly. He cried out, begging loudly, Ranran, don't leave me. I'm begging you. I didn't respond, wiping the rain from the corner of my eye as I walked into the warmth of the dormitory lights. Sometimes I wonder why people only learn to cherish what they've lost. Or perhaps it's human nature to always chase after what they don't have. After that, I thought Li Yu's pride would make him cut ties with me completely. Instead, our roles reversed. He was the one constantly chasing after me. But I wouldn't soften my heart again. A week later, Li Yu suddenly disappeared, missing classes for several days. I thought he had finally given up, but then Zhang Yuting came looking for me. She met me at a milk tea shop near campus and slid her phone toward me. On the screen was a photo of Li Yu lying in a hospital bed, pale, with a 4-needle piercing a prominent blue vein on the back of his hand. I asked, what's this supposed to mean? Zhang Yuting wiped her face. Li Yu is in the hospital. I frowned. What does that have to do with me? Zhang Yuting looked up sharply, accusing me indignantly. He was your boyfriend after all. How can you have no sympathy when he's like this? You should at least go see him. I studied Zhang Yuting's face carefully. This woman had dominated my teenage years for 4 years. I had once admired her, envied her, and even hated her. At my worst, I wished she would disappear from the world, vanish from between Li Yu and me, only to be terrified by my own malice, unable to sleep at night. Her so-called friendship had caused me so much pain that seeing her face still made me feel uneasy out of habit. I lowered my gaze and asked instead of answering, do you know what I was doing when you and Li Yu were taking those artistic photos? Zhang Yuting paused. What? I looked out the window, my gaze distant. I had acute gastroenteritis and passed out alone in the emergency room. I didn't have many friends or family in this city, so there was no one to pay the bill for me. I had to call Li Yu and ask him to come back. Zhang Yuting's expression changed instantly. She clearly knew Li Yu had chosen to stay with her for the photo shoot instead of returning. My voice was soft. And then he told me he was busy and asked me to hang in there. I turned back to Zhang Yuting, puzzled. Why can't he hang in there now? Am I born inferior? While both of you are naturally noble and different from me. Zhang Yuting fell silent, unable to respond for a long time before murmuring, but he knows he was wrong. Her eyes gradually reddened, her voice trembling. Do you think I want to come to you? We've known each other for over a decade. If it weren't for you, we might have been together long ago. I thought once you two broke up, the only obstacle between us would be gone. But he told me it's impossible now, because he fell for you. Zhang Yuting looked at me intensely, tears streaming down her face unchecked. He got sick because he waited for you all night in the rain. How can you not forgive him when he's like this? I let out a light laugh. Wait in the rain? In the year we were together, I lost count of how many times I was caught in the rain. Do you remember when your dorm lost power and you video called Lee Yu, saying you were afraid of the dark? Jang Yuting bit her lip. Yes, I did call him. I interrupted her expressionlessly. While you two were video chatting, I was out in the rain, hailing a cab in the middle of the night to cross half the city to buy him stomach medicine. The rain that night was much heavier than what he stood in. Leaning closer to Jang Yuting, I suppressed my anger. When will you two realize you're not the center of the world? Do you think only you can get hurt or feel pain, while everyone else is just a walking corpse? I revolved around him because I loved him, not because I was pathetic. I have no interest in playing along with your drama anymore. Whether Li Yu lives or dies has nothing to do with me. Don't come looking for me again. I grabbed my bag and stood up to leave, but Jang Yuting stopped me, shouting hysterically. But you liked him so much. You loved him so deeply. How can you be so heartless now? Suddenly, I realized why Li Yu and Jang Yuting had been inseparable for so many years. Birds of a feather flocked together, both of them were utterly selfish, trampling on others' feelings without remorse, childish and stubborn, hurting either others or themselves. Looking down at her, I said coldly, even molten lava would solidify after being doused with ice water for so long. What more of love? I turned to leave but froze when I saw Li Yu standing at the entrance. His face was deathly pale, and he had been standing behind me for who knows how long. Seeing me turn, he opened his mouth to explain. I thought Yuting was causing trouble for you. Before he could finish, tears fell to the ground. On his pale face, only his bloodshot eyes held a hint of red. He stood there like a rigid stone statue, his voice broken. Ran, I didn't know you suffered so much. A mocking smile touched my lips. Stop lying. You just didn't care enough to notice. You two are equally disgusting. I must have been blind to have liked you back then. With that, I pushed past him and walked out. Li Yu staggered back, nearly losing his balance despite his height. He didn't try to stop me again, only asked in a daze, what if I'm willing to atone? Without looking back, I replied coldly, it's too late. If I killed you and then atoned, would it bring you back to life? Your atonement isn't worth that much. After that, Li Yu stopped using self-harm to manipulate me. He probably finally understood that caring only existed because of love. Once the love was gone, even if he destroyed himself, I wouldn't look back. But he still appeared around me occasionally, sometimes bringing me milk tea, other times an umbrella. It annoyed me. Once, I threw the milk tea in the trash right in front of him and told him to get lost, just as he had once done to me. Li Yu didn't get angry. The tall man stood before me, humbled. I won't bring anything next time. Just don't chase me away, Ran. He covered his face with his hands. At least let me stay by your side. Otherwise, I don't know how to go on living. Frustrated and annoyed, I tried my best to avoid him, keeping him out of sight and out of mind. Qi often came to see me too. I could tell he had feelings for me, but I didn't understand why he liked me. Maybe after everything with Li Yu, I had become wary of standout guys like him. When Qi asked me out again, I gently declined. I'm not ready to start a new relationship right now. Qi didn't reply for a long time. I thought my rejection had wounded his pride, and he would give up. But after a while, he sent another message. I'm outside your dorm. If we can't be lovers yet, can we start as friends? Your friend is inviting you to dinner. I couldn't help but smile, shaking my head as I replied, okay, permission granted. Standing outside the dorm, autumn wind rustled a few fallen leaves. Qi stood under an old locust tree, one hand in his pocket, the other holding an insulated bag. The afternoon sun cast a soft golden glow around him, even softening the white bandage over his left eye. Seeing me approach, he stepped forward and handed me the bag. Friends treat friends to dinner. The cafeteria just released a new sweet and sour pork rib dish. It sells out fast. I took the bag, it was still warm. How did you know I like sweet and sour pork ribs? Qi raised an eyebrow. At the last club gathering, you ate half a plate by yourself. He remembered that. My heart stirred slightly, but I didn't respond. We walked side by side toward the cafeteria. Qi walked on the outside, naturally shielding me from passing bicycles and pedestrians. The detail made me pause back when I walked with Li Yu. He'd always stride ahead, forcing me to hurry just to keep up. Still feeling unwell? Kishen suddenly asked. What? He'd always stride ahead, forcing me to hurry just to keep up. Your stomach. At the hospital last time, you were so pale from the pain. I shook my head. I'm fine now. What about you? How's your eye recovering? The stitches are out. The bandage comes off in a couple of days. He glanced at me, his visible eye particularly bright. Shouldn't leave a scar, won't scare you off. His serious tone made me laugh. Who said you'd be scarred? With the bandage, you actually look. I caught myself mid-sentence. Quite distinctive. Kishen chuckled softly and didn't press further. Dinner was unexpectedly pleasant. Kishen didn't talk much, but he kept the conversation flowing naturally, never awkward or intrusive. He shared funny stories from the basketball team, talked about Osmanthus cakes from a store near his hometown, and even told me about how rowdy his corgi was as a puppy. His name is Oreo, 2 black patches on his face. Kishen showed me a photo on his phone. Now he's chubby like a little tank. In the photo, the corgi tilted its head, eyes both innocent and mischievous. As I looked, something hard in my heart began to soften. So he had a tender side too. Beneath that, don't mess with me. Exterior was just a regular guy who loved his dog and remembered to bring food for a friend. Near the end of the meal, my phone buzzed. A message from Li Yu, just a photo of the stomach medicine I'd left at his place, sitting on an empty nightstand. The caption read, "Almost out of medicine. No one remembers to refill it." I stared at the screen for a few seconds. My heart still ached out of habit, but soon the pain was replaced by a stronger sense of weariness. I turned off the screen and placed my phone face down on the table. What's wrong? Kishen asked. Nothing. I shook my head, scooping up the last piece of rib. It'll get cold if we don't finish. Kishen didn't pry. Instead, he quietly transferred the broccoli from his plate to mine. You didn't touch this. Eat more veggies, good for you. I paused. When I ate with Li Yu, he never noticed my picky eating, much less gave me his unwanted bell peppers or carrots, because he didn't eat them either, leaving them on his plate. Thanks, I said softly. By the time we left the cafeteria, the sky was painted in shades of orange and red. We walked slowly back along the tree-lined path, our shadows stretching long, occasionally overlapping. Li ran. Kishen suddenly stopped. I know you don't want to talk about relationships right now. He turned to face me, his expression earnest, almost solemn. And I'm not asking you to promise me anything. I just want to tell you I've liked you since the first day of school when I saw you in class. I froze, my mind blank. You were sitting by the window, sunlight in your hair, doodling little figures in your notebook. A faint smile touched Kishen's lips. I thought to myself, she's interesting, even daydreaming in class so intently. After that, I saw you often. You'd study by the library window for hours. You fed the stray cats near the teaching building and even gave them names. You always ran counterclockwise around the track. I realized watching you became the highlight of my day. His voice wasn't loud, but every word sank deep into my heart. I know about you and Li Yu, and I know you're still healing. It's fine, I have time. Kishen met my gaze. In his unbandaged eye, I saw the reflection of the sunset and my own uncertain self. You can take your time. Think it over. Until you're ready, we'll just be friends. I just hope. He paused, his voice softening. You won't let one bad experience close you off to all possibilities. Not everyone is like Li Yu, and not every relationship demands your endless sacrifice. A breeze rustled the watong leaves. Standing before Kishen, I felt something breaking through inside me. Fresh, tender, and slightly aching with new life. I opened my mouth but couldn't speak. In the end, I simply nodded gently. Kishen smiled, a clean, bright smile that chased away the chill of the late autumn evening. Then it settled. Friends. He emphasized the word friends with a hint of playfulness. I couldn't help but smile too. On the way back to my dorm, I kept turning Kishen's words over in my mind. He was right. I couldn't refuse all warmth just because I'd been burned once. Li Yu was Li Yu. Kishen was Kishen. The world was wide, and not everyone was trapped in an all-or-nothing obsession. Outside my dorm, I saw Lee Yu again. He stood in the shadows, holding a familiar thermal container, the one I used to bring him soup in. Seeing me, his eyes lit up and he hurried over. Ran, I made porridge. Since your stomach's sensitive, something warm at night might help. His voice trailed off as his gaze landed on Qi Shen beside me. Qi Shen stepped slightly in front of me. She's already eaten. Li Yu's face instantly darkened. He stared intently at Qi Shen, then at me, his eyes pleading, angry, and tinged with panic. Ran. His voice trembled. Can we talk alone? I shook my head. We've said all there is to say. But you weren't like this before. Li Yu's emotions flared. You said you'd love me forever, that no matter how I treated you, you'd never leave. Why are you so heartless now? Is it because of him? He pointed at Qi Shen, his hand shaking. Looking at this familiar yet strange man, I felt nothing but absurdity. Li Yu, I said calmly. I said those things when I still loved you. Love isn't an eternal vow, it can run out. As for Qi Shen, I glanced at the man beside me. He watched me quietly, his gaze gentle yet firm. He has nothing to do with this. Even without him, I wouldn't go back. Li Yu staggered back as if struck, the thermal container clattering to the ground. Warm porridge spilled everywhere, steaming under the dim streetlights. He ignored it, staring at me with red-rimmed eyes. You really don't want me anymore? He'd asked that many times before. Every time I'd soften, give in, hold him and say, I do. But this time, I just looked at him calmly, as if he were a stranger. Li Yu, I said, love isn't charity or pity. The moment I decided to leave, you'd already lost me. With that, I turned and walked into the dorm. Qi Shen followed. Just before entering, he glanced back at Li Yu. I didn't look back. As I climbed the stairs, I heard muffled, animal-like sobs echoing in the empty hallway, desperate and heart-wrenching. But my heart remained calm. Back in the dorm, Shen Yin was watching a drama with a face mask on. Seeing me return, she mumbled, How was the date? It wasn't a date, I said, taking off my coat. Just friends having dinner. Shen Yin gave me a knowing look from behind her mask and giggled. I didn't bother explaining. Walking to the balcony, I saw night had fully fallen. The spilled porridge was still on the ground below, but Li Yu was gone. In the distance, classroom buildings glowed with light, and library windows reflected students deep in study. Farther still, city neon glittered, streams of traffic flowing like rivers. This world was so vast, so many people striving to live, to love and be loved, to rise again after being hurt. I was one of them. My phone buzzed a message from Qi Shen. Back yet? Yes. Class, tomorrow morning. Remember to eat breakfast. You too. The conversation ended there, simple, ordinary, yet it filled me with warmth. So, this was what a healthy relationship felt like. No need for grand gestures or pleas. Just two people standing as equals, offering each other simple care. I turned off my phone and looked out at the deep blue night sky. The autumn wind carried a chill, but it felt refreshing. Those nights spent crying over love, those moments of waiting, those pains I thought I'd never move past, finally, in this moment they became truly part of the past. I was no longer Li Ran, who lost herself for love. I was Li Ran, belonging to herself, and a new story was just beginning.